where I basically ramble on about whatever's crossing my mind as of recently. This week is a special episode, because it's the first episode, but beyond that, you probably don't know that I'm a really big fan of sci-fi. Now, it's really hard to be a science fiction fan these days, because they're really, really terrible. Star Wars isn't real sci-fi. Neither is the modern Star Trek. Both of those are just action movies. When I'm talking about science fiction movies, I'm talking about The Martian. Arrival slightly fits in this camp, but not really. Arrival was really good, but I would consider Arrival a science fiction movie for liberal arts majors, because the hero of the story is a liberal arts major, and how they triumph and how her way of thinking triumphs over the scientists. So I don't really think you can have that as your main plot and have it still be a science fiction movie. But things were looking pretty bad for science fiction for a while until The Martian came along. And The Martian was really had like everything going for it. It had a good budget, great story, great science. Now, I don't really like The Martian as much as other people because I actually read the book The Martian. And if you haven't read the book The Martian, it's like infinitely better than the movie. It has much better science, much better plot. It's a much better plot and a much better resolution and other things like that. It also is more technical, so that's also an important thing. Things were looking good for science fiction, especially considering that Arrival came out recently, even though I don't really consider that to be a science fiction movie. So even as the Star Wars movies drifted off more and more into the action-filled field, leaving their science fiction roots, we get a recent science fiction movie that just came out, Passengers. Now, this movie was actually really good. Now, you may be thinking, well, okay, how does it have 30% on Rotten Tomatoes? That is what this is about. Now, I have had a theory that film critics go out of their way to persecute science fiction movies. Look at Interstellar. That movie was really, really good when it came to the science. Neil deGrasse Tyson loved it. Pretty much every single scientist who saw it praised it for the visuals and how the visuals were so scientifically accurate and how it took action-filled field of science fiction and brought it back to its core root ideas. Now, a lot of people said, well, it was rambling about philosophy. It's like, that's what idea movies are about. So, well, it's rambling. It's talking about ideas. It doesn't have, like, any space battles. Space battles are westerns. Space battles are westerns. If you don't really believe me about that, and this is the reason why I really don't consider the Star Wars movie science fiction. All of their space battles are based off of World War II dogfights in Hollywood movies. No joke. I mean, it's like there's a lot of videos on the internet showing the shots and movements of the shots and movements of the spacecraft in Star Wars, and the shots and the shots and movement of World War II aircraft from World War II dogfight movies. So all it really does is it just takes a western and then throws it in the science fiction sense, which doesn't really do anything. Films need to be sci-fi more than just as a backdrop. It needs to be more just a backdrop and not really much of a noticeable phenomenon. And this is where we get to Passengers. I'm going to really try hard to not give away any spoilers here, but there might be some slight spoilers. But basically pretty much nothing you'll figure out within the first 5 minutes of watching the movie, and I don't really think I'm giving away much by that. But science in this movie is really good except for the climax. And it's like, it really goes out of its way to be portrayed as a science fiction movie. And a science fiction movie at its core. And it does that really, really well. Really, really well, especially considering that big budget science fiction movies either resort to not being science fiction movies or being terrible. Good examples of this are Star Wars and Jupiter Ascending, which is, again, why The Martian is pretty incredible. And while this was as good as The Martian, it was good. And I'm not going to say it was really good or great or awesome, but it was good. But yeah. Just check. It has a 30% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And you'll see this spreading by word of mouth it means like if you look at customer submitted results, like people who aren't critics, pretty much every single top review is why are critics hating on this movie. You don't need consensus on stuff like this. It's really, really, really questioning, and it's really starting to disturb me why they're hating it on what seems to be no other reason than the fact that it's simply science fiction. Same thing with Interstellar, too. I think that movie, it's like that movie was, like, at 60% for a while. I don't know what's at now. I'm thinking it's, like, 70%-ish. That movie was a lot better than 70%, especially when you look at other movies that are around 70%. It's basically just run-of-the-mill movies. Especially when you consider that it's a really good science fiction movie. Science fiction seems to be dying in movie theaters. And this is really concerning me, because when you have good science fiction movies that are being bashed by critics, it makes it much less likely that they're going to be made in the future. And that's what's disturbing here, because there may come a future where there are no science fiction movies to watch. At least ones that regard science, or at least ones that regard science and have a high budget in the movie theater. I mean, it's like, and you saw this effect early with The Martian a bit. I mean, it's early in the early days it was trending around 70%, and now it's 90%ish. It's there seems to be this knee-jerk reaction within critics' minds about, well, okay, this is sci-fi. I don't really like the main elements of sci-fi. It's and you cannot like sci-fi as a genre, but it seems to me that critics especially seem to have a hatred towards science fiction. First of all, critics need to stop group thinking. Because as soon as they stop doing that, we probably won't have any problems like this before. But here's the thing about it. Critics see a lot of movies. But here's the thing. Critics have their own tastes. And I think when you become a film critic, you need to give up your tastes. You need to understand when you're seeing a horror film that, okay, I may probably hate horror films, but I need to understand that this is good from within the genre that's placing it, i.e. the people who are interested in this movie will probably like watching it. That's what the jobs of critics are. The point of the jobs of the critics isn't to promote your own opinion. The point of being a critic is to make others' lives better. And when you put your own personal preferences above that, you're failing as a critic. Anyway, that's this week's version of Random
that
Rambles.
area. Fast Tracks change all that by bringing more light rail and bus traffic to the area.